it is really important to acknowledge this because it leads you to feelings, and then your feelings lead you to actions. So that's the whole basis about this theory, is that you have a thought, that thought makes you have a feeling, and that feeling makes you act a certain way. So if we can understand confirmation bias and what it does, then we get to choose on purpose what thoughts we want to keep and what thoughts we don't. That's really all that we're talking about today. So studies also show that confirmation bias is stronger when you have had this belief for a long period of time, or when you have an emotional response to this topic. So both of those things can be pretty dangerous, because you could have thoughts about, let's use an example. You could have thoughts about Trump, let's say. This was my example yesterday online. If you have thoughts about Trump, and then you see a Trump speech, you are going to believe the things that you already thought about Trump. There are people in the world, now I know who I'm talking to, so I know that I'm in a pretty safe group. There are people in the world who watch a Trump speech and think, man, he's eloquent. And they're not thinking that to piss you off. They actually think that he's eloquent. And here's why: because of confirmation bias. Because of confirmation bias, you can watch a speech and it doesn't matter what he says. And unfortunately, this is true for you guys too. He is not a bad president or a good president. You are never going to get a letter from the universe that says, Mom just was like, what? You are never going to get a letter from the universe that says, this is the right thing, that Trump is a bad president. You're correct. That's never going to happen. There isn't a truth or a fact or anything like that. It is all your thoughts. And so when you have specific thoughts about a subject, you will see the subject from your perspective, and you will make the subject matter fit into your narrative, no matter what it is. It's huge. This is huge. And so the reason why we talk about this is because I want to teach you how to think on purpose. Because if you can look at a thought, that's why we were talking about everybody needs a pen and a paper, or a notepad or whatever you want. Because if you can, it is really hard to notice your thoughts. That's step number one. And if you can notice them, then you can change them. And I'm going to teach you how to do that. Now, the Trump one specifically for me is something that I'm thinking about a lot recently, because the rule is that you keep a thought that serves you. You keep a thought that helps you, that inspires you, that makes you happy. You do not keep thoughts that are not helpful. My belief about Trump doesn't really serve me. I just hate the man, and I think that he is awful. And every time I watch him, I think, is there anyone stupider than this person? But that actually is not the only belief that people have out there about Trump. And so what it does for me personally, that thought, is it only makes me angry. And so I'm going to have to go back and look at what I want my thought to be instead, but that's obviously for another day. But the point is that I get to decide. I get to say, is this thought serving me? Is this thought helping me in my life? Now, for people like my sister, for example, she might get inspired by the thought that she hates Trump. She started reading books and going to protests and doing all of that stuff because that thought inspires her. So it doesn't matter what the thought is, only that it inspires you to be better or inspires you to do something different that you want to do. Which leads me to my next lesson on this, which is you cannot shame or blame yourself into being the person that you want to be. That's a big one. So I'm going to let that sit for a second. You cannot shame yourself into being the person that you wish to be. What that means is No matter how many times you say to yourself, my body should look differently, that is not going to change your body. And I know that you think that if you just think about it badly enough, and if you just hate your body enough, then you'll get mad enough to eat differently or to change your exercise habits or whatever the case may be, but it is not true. You cannot shame yourself into being what you want to be. And I can prove it. When you love a pet, do you take care of it better or do you take care of it worse? When you love an animal, you obviously nurture it. You feed it, you walk it, you cuddle with it, you love it, you take care of it, you nurture it. That's exactly what you would do with your body if you loved it. But you don't. You yell at yourself, you berate yourself, you get mad, and you resist. And nothing forwards an emotion better than resistance. If you say to yourself, I do not want to feel this way, you are only going to feel that way. The way that you allow yourself to have a feeling is simply that. You process an emotion by literally allowing it to happen. So let's talk about that for a second. So you have a thought. Let's choose a new one just for fun. I want to talk about so I have a Pyxis story. So I talked about this the other day a little bit. My personal thing at work is when I can't find something in the goddamn Pyxis. Now, what you must know at work is that there are 7 Pyxi, and they are the length of a wall. And there are little things about as big as your cameras right now with supplies in them. And you have to remember where everything is. And guess what? All 7 are different. So every time you have an emergency and you need something in this Pyxis and you go to it, you have absolutely no idea where anything is. So I thought of this earlier and I wanted to use this as an example because that's my thing. Now let's up the stakes a little bit. Let's say that you need to get something out of the Pyxis emergently. So let's pretend that you need an oxygen mask. Everyone can agree that an oxygen mask is probably something that you need fast if you need it, right? Now let's pretend that there's not one in your room because maybe you just got to work and you haven't had time to check yet. And you need an oxygen mask immediately and you go to the Pyxis and you're panic stricken. Now, if you're me, you're panic stricken because you're thinking, I'm a terrible nurse. I am never going to be able to find this thing and my patient's going to die because she can't breathe and it's all my fault. That's where my brain goes. If I can't find something in the Pyxis, I'm a terrible nurse. So we have the thought, I'm a terrible nurse. Then we have the feeling. How does that feel in my body? So when we're tense, personally for me, I feel it in my stomach. I feel almost everything in my stomach, but this can be different for you. This is why I wanted you to bring that sheet that I emailed you because there are a bunch of different physical feelings that you can have, of course. But if you've never noticed them before, it's nice to have a list. So I sent that to you in your email. Now, physical symptoms can be a headache, an earache, feeling cold, feeling flushed, your heart races, your chest hurts, your stomach hurts, things like that. That is the feeling. We name the feeling with an emotion. So sadness, anxiety, angry, whatever the case may be. So we have my thought, which is, well, first we have my trigger. I went to the Pyxis. Then we have my thought, which is, I'm a terrible nurse. Then we have my feeling, which is anxiety. We'll name my nausea, basically, which is how I feel, anxiety. Now, here's the skill. What happens when you work from anxiety? How am I going to act if I'm anxious in this situation? I believe that my patient needs me to bring her air and oxygen, and I can't find the thing. So how am I going to behave? Am I going to be able to find the thing? Probably not. I'm probably not going to be, it's probably going to be like trying to find your keys when you have to pee. I probably am not going to be able to find this thing because I'm scared to death. And that is my proof for why we're doing this. Because if you change your thought, now let's do it again, as if we have a managed mind. So let's change the thought. Instead of, you have the same trigger, because triggers don't cause you any feelings, your thoughts do. So we have the same trigger, which is, I can't find something in the Pyxis. Now the thought, instead of I'm a terrible nurse, what could I think? I could think, I'm a better problem solver when I'm calm. That's what I think now when I go to the Pyxis and I start to unravel. I am a better problem solver when I'm calm. So let's pretend that I have that thought instead, that I think, I'm a better problem solver when I'm calm. Now, what feeling does that thought lead me to? Because all of your feelings come from your thoughts. So what thought does that make me feel? Well, if I think about it, that sentence makes me feel calm. And the point is, how will I act now that I feel calm? Now that we're not in that situation, we can think to ourselves, okay, what would I do? The first thing that comes to my mind is I would ask someone for help. Would you have done that if you felt like a terrible nurse? Probably not. Because if I feel like a terrible nurse, I don't want to tell anybody that I'm a terrible nurse. That would be terrible. What a horrible idea. I don't want anyone to know that I'm bad at my job. So I just stand there, panic-stricken, looking for the oxygen mask, and probably being detrimental to my patient. And that is why confirmation bias is so important to acknowledge. If you change your thought, you will have different outcomes. And confirmation bias tells us that our brain is not objective. Your brain doesn't look at all of the things in the Pyxis and go, okay, let's remember the last time this happened. You only think that that's true. You can't remember. That's it. You can't remember. And it doesn't mean that you're a bad nurse. It doesn't say anything about you. Now, here's the good news. You already believe good things about yourself. And because you already believe those things, you have the ability to change your thought. Because if you believe that you're a good mom most of the time, but when you're stressed out or when there is an issue, you think to yourself, oh God, I didn't do that right. That one situation does not make you a bad mom or a good mom. That's just one situation that happened, and those feelings are because of your thoughts. And so if you can acknowledge, if you can notice your thoughts when they arise, you can pick different ones. And that's what I'm here to teach you today. I've already gone like 5 minutes past where I thought I was going to do. So I'm like on a roll. Is everyone okay? Can we keep going? Okay. All right, cool. So why does our brain do this? Thank you, Ben. Before we talk about how to change our thoughts, let's talk about why our brain does it, just because I find it interesting. And also, I'm an RN life coach, and so you're getting the health part of this as well. That's like part of the beauty of it, I've decided. So, your primitive brain, the first part of the brain that developed is your brain stem. That is the oldest part. And it is the part of your brain that dictates confirmation bias. It is the part that alerts you to danger. But like we mentioned before, all that it can do is alert you to a potential problem. It cannot assess, and it certainly cannot problem solve. That's where we need your conscious brain to come in. That's why you need to be aware of this issue. So your brain stem basically tells you you're in danger. This used to be super, super helpful, because if you were running from a bear, you would run faster, you would run farther, you wouldn't need food in the meantime because everything suppresses. Your fight or flight is engaged, you have adrenaline pumping through your system, and you get away from the bear. That's fantastic. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess, we don't run from bears anymore. There aren't bears. Now what there are emails from our boss. And your body reacts the same way to fight or flight, regardless of if it's a bear or if it's an email. The same reason that when I go to the Pyxis, I feel like a terrible nurse, and my brain and my body go, and I have this emotional, physical response. It's the exact same thing. My brain got triggered. I thought to myself, I'm a terrible nurse, and fight or flight kicked in because your brain, your brain stem, the part of the primitive brain that does this, only can ask one question, and that is there a potential danger? You consciously get to decide. Once you notice those thoughts that I asked you to write down at the beginning, once you notice them, you can look at them consciously and you can say, oh, this isn't one that I want to listen to, and chuck it. So the next time that something happens, let's say, let's go with the parenting thing. Next time something happens that stresses you out and you have the thought, man, I'm a bad mom or I'm a bad dad, you get to look at it and you get to say, wait a minute, that's not true. I actually believe that I'm a really good mom, and so I'm going to let this go. And the reason we do that is to quiet that fight or flight response. And that's how you process an emotion. So our primitive brain does this because it is trying to keep us alive. That's it. And we don't really have to run from bears anymore. And so now it's only alerting us to things like an email. Jesse has a question. Oh, okay, go ahead. Wait, talk.
Can you hear me now?
I think so.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay. My question is, how do you balance the desire to not feel emotions that don't serve you with the idea that you might be doing something wrong and you don't want to ignore the evidence? Like, there are some people in the world that I can think of that should probably listen to that part of their brain saying, I'm a terrible person, I need to do something differently.
Okay.
And I don't want to validate them. And I'm in the same way, I'm afraid that if I get really good at this, that I will be a terrible person because I'll never believe otherwise.
Yep. Everybody says that the first day.
Right.
And right. So there's really, really good news, and on a lot of those points. And that goes back to my if you love an animal example. So take Lucy, for example. You love Lucy. You want to take care of her because you love her so much. If you felt that way about your body, how would you treat it? And that's the answer to basically all of it. If you whatever the situation may be, if you come at it with curiosity and love, you're going to be successful. And if you come at it of a place of, I hate myself and I'm trying to get out of this, I'm not going to. So we think, I see you, Mom. We think that hating ourselves and berating ourselves gets more work done. I think that's kind of what you just said. And that's not what's true. Additionally, you thinking about this from another person's point of view is not necessarily helpful to you because you have no idea what's going on in anyone else's brain. And if you think that, you should write this down. If you think that that somebody else needs to manage their mind, you should manage your mind around them. Because if you have a feeling, if you have opinions about, let's use Mom as an example. You have a feeling about what Mom should do in a specific circumstance because you really know Mom really well and you know exactly how to solve her problem. You have absolutely no idea what's going on in her brain. And so it's not fair for you to say, well, obviously she needs to behave this way because you have no idea. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to give me an example so we can talk through it? Mom wants to talk. Do you want to?
Yeah, go ahead, Mama. We can't hear you.
Hold on, I'll unmute her.
There we go.
Okay, Mom.
I just wanted to be able to put what you're saying in a specific situation that, like what Jesse was talking about.
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted you to do. That's what I wanted to say.
Okay, let's do another example. Jess, what are you thinking about specifically? Can you use like non-names to give us an example?
someone, I can just use names, honestly.
Okay.
Savannah thinks that she's a great mom.
Okay. That's it.
And I spend most of my life compensating for that.
Okay. So my challenge to you would be, I think, Mom, this will help you right? Is that a good situation? Okay. The answer to that is, do you really think she thinks she's a good mom?
I mean, she hasn't done anything differently in 12 years.
But why do we behave the same way over and over and over again?
Not because we think we're doing well.
No.
That's not why.
Because we're blaming ourselves and shaming ourselves. Remember, if we look at the diet example, if you say to yourself, this is what we think will happen, if I just hate my body enough, then I will eat fruits and vegetables. And that's not actually true. Is it working for anybody here? I don't think so. In fact, what you have to do is you have to have compassion and curiosity. She has absolutely no compassion and no curiosity because she doesn't manage her mind. Also, she's a bit of a different case because she's like clinically crazy. But the reasons still are the same. And that is, I would argue that she probably thinks she's a terrible mother. She was arrested with her children. I don't think that you get over that. I think that those are your thoughts that you are projecting onto her. That's what I think. And so, again, why are we worried about what Savannah thinks? Who cares? Like, just let Savannah, you don't want to have anything to do with her. Just like have as little to do with her as you can. But getting angry that she feels like a good mom and you don't feel like a good mom and you're a better mom than her is like that's so exactly what we're talking about getting over. She probably feels like a terrible mother, if that makes you feel any better. But I would, if I were you, try to change my thought there. Instead of she thinks she's a good mom and she's terrible, maybe change your thought and maybe get curious.
I think maybe that's the thought, is that what if I'm like that and I just don't know it? You know?
Those are, hi, Lean.
Hi.
Lena Kate has something to add.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like maybe we're talking about a couple different things at once, which is maybe a little confusing to me, but like just focusing on, say, Savannah in this situation, because I think thinking about Jesse's brain and her brain at the same time is making it hard to kind of focus on this like mechanism, which like just from Savannah's perspective, if there's I think understand Jesse's concern as like, where do you balance improving yourself without, you don't want to get rid of that urge and desire to improve things about yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to do it in a way that's not shaming. And so, so taking Savannah, if Savannah can recognize that there's things that she needs to improve, but if she does it in a way that's coming from a place of self-hate, it's probably not going to be productive. And her fight or flight brain is not going to do a very good job at self-improvement for her. And so she shouldn't think I'm a terrible mom, right? Even if a lot of people think she is, because that's not going to help anybody get anywhere.
Exactly.
And so it's not that you stop. It's not that you're getting rid of the idea of improving yourself. It's just how you approach it is how I'm hearing.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Additionally, I don't care about Savannah. I only care about you. And so I want you to feel differently. And so we can work on changing your thoughts, and have been.
Well, she was just my example of someone that is not working on themselves.
Yes.
And it just, when you think of those people that that are overly confident and you think, assholes, it's hard to say, I don't want to be that confident.
Yeah, that brings me to this is a perfect segue, Jesse. And of course you did it. So I'm going to actually screen share very quickly because I have a little clip that I want to watch, and then I want us all to talk about it. Jesse, you're going to love this because it is from Friends. But it is a blooper. So this is an accident. This was not aired. This is Jennifer Aniston in pure emotion. And I want everybody to watch it. It's about 2 seconds long. And then I want to talk about what we saw. And I'm going to prove to you that all of us had different thoughts. And we're going to talk about what Jennifer Aniston was thinking and how we have absolutely no idea. So first I'm going to share my screen. All right. Okay, so now you should be seeing what I'm seeing. Now I want to show you. All right, ready?
My first line?
What did we agree?
Okay.
Okay. So what did we see in there? Let me get you back to what I want to be able to see you again. No, no, no. Oh. Okay. Okay, so what did we see? We can watch it a couple more times. I know some people don't know that like backwards and forwards like me and Jesse do. How did it go, Mom? Hold on a second.
I couldn't hear what the little guy said.
Oh, okay. Well, hold on. Let's watch it again. It's 2 seconds. Yes, Kimmy. Can you unmute yourself so I can hear you?
I couldn't follow it at all.
Okay. We're going to start at the beginning. So this is a blooper. Jennifer Aniston is talking to a little boy. And in the blooper, she forgets her line. And so the little boy helps her out. And I want you to watch what happens with Jennifer Aniston's face as the incident occurs. So we're going to watch it one more time.
Okay. Now what is my first line?
What did we agree?
Okay.
Did everybody see it that time?
Yeah.
Okay. So what did we see? All right, I'll start. So I see Jennifer Aniston getting frustrated because her, however old he is, 8-year-old co-star remembers her lines and she doesn't. So I think that this is akin to, I can't find the thing in the Pyxis. I think that what happens is she can't remember her line and she thinks, I'm embarrassed because I'm bad at this in front of this little child. And then the little child says, I remember your line, and it makes it worse. And so she makes this face that's like, thanks. And I think that what that says to everybody is Jennifer Aniston's a bitch.
Oh, no.
No? Okay, so Mom had a different thought.
I didn't get that.
Okay, what did you see?
What I saw was that I felt like this has probably happened a million times because she's like, oh, right, you're right. And she smiled about it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I didn't think bitch at all.
Okay. So basically, I see something completely different from what you see. Does anybody else have any feelings or thoughts that they want to add to this? Nope. Okay. So those are the two schools of thought. This is perfect, Mom, that you're here because that's all I see is I see a bitchy face. I see her going, thanks.
Wow.
Let's watch it one more time. And this time, let's pick what we see. Look at her face and determine for me which you see.
Okay. Now what is my first line?
Let it be a green.
Okay.
What about that time? Did you see the same things, Mom? You did. So did I. Did anybody change their opinion? Raise your hand if you changed your opinion, because I can't see 4 of you. Nobody changed their opinion. Okay. So, Jess, what do you see? Do you see me or Mom?
You.
Okay. Kimmy, do you see bitch or do you see sweet?
I mean, it was hard for me to, am I unmuted?
Yes.
I mean, it was hard for me to connect with it. So the sound was funny
Okay.
and it was jerky. So
Okay.
I didn't feel I was seeing something to make a judgment on, but if I had to make a judgment, I would go with Lynn.
Okay. Isn't that interesting? So here's what that proves. That proves that confirmation bias is real because we watched the same clip. Nothing is different. Yes, Mother.
You're muted, Mama.
I thought you were raising your hand.
I didn't think I could do that anymore. So what does that say necessarily in that, like, maybe I happen to like Jennifer Aniston and maybe Kimmy does too,
Mhm.
and maybe you and Jess don't really like her that much. Maybe you know stuff about her that we don't know. And so that is affecting what you see also, right?
Exactly. Your thoughts. Your thoughts about Jennifer Aniston probably are affecting how you saw the clip. Now, I love Jennifer Aniston.
Me
but
too.
I come from an actor perspective. So I bring a whole different thought process to this than some of the people here. Jessie knows this show inside and out. So she probably could quote the rest of the scene for us if we asked her to. And so she comes with a different perspective than anybody else. And so
I'm also corrected by 8 to 12-year-old boys most of the time.
And so Jessie has a very interesting perspective.
So maybe I was just annoyed with him.
Yeah. I think that her face at the end when she goes and she's like clicking her tongue and she's like, and she looks at the camera like, I think that is her being flabbergasted. I think those are her thoughts. But that doesn't matter. The point is, I see something different than you see. And it's not because Jennifer Aniston's a bitch. It's not because we couldn't hear what she was saying. It's not because we watched a different speech than Trump, than the one that you saw yesterday, and your neighbor watched the one before that. That's not it. It's your thoughts. And that is the proof. The proof is in the pudding. Your thoughts change how you see things. And so do not make assumptions. And that's the only lesson for today. Let's not make assumptions based on our thoughts. Let's instead, thank you, Ben, let's instead notice our thoughts. That's step number 1. And then feel how that feels in our body. And decide whether or not you should act from those feelings or if you should change your thought. Because it's not serving you to think that way. And that's it. That's amazing. 45 minutes. So,
Can we do an example?
Yeah, that's the
Because
whole
that
point.
sounds really hard.
Yeah. Do you want to be my guinea pig?
I will be. Does anyone else want to do it?
I'm not going to make, Kimmy doesn't and Mom doesn't. I know that for sure. Lena K won't even let us see her, so I don't think that's going to happen. So it's really either you or Ben at this point. But
All right,
I don't mean, if you don't want to be my guinea pig, I don't want to force anyone to do anything.
No, I'll do it.
Okay. Okay, Jess, will you be brave enough to please share a thought that you are having? It doesn't have to be this moment. It can be like the last couple of days, something that you are coming back to a lot.
I spend a lot of time very annoyed with Gunnar that he isn't growing up.
Okay. What's the thought? That's the circumstance.
I'm going to have a 3-year-old for the rest of my life.
Okay. So you're worried about the future.
Uh-huh.
Okay. How does that make you feel in your body?
I have butterflies.
Okay. So your stomach.
Mm-hmm.
Same with me. Is that a positive feeling? Does it inspire you to change?
No, it inspires me to get out, to make breakfast and get out of the room so I don't have to watch him eat, because it reminds me that he's going to be like this when he's 40
Mhm.
and that I'm still going to be feeding him when he's 40.
Okay. So does that thought serve you?
Probably not.
No, probably not. Because
Mm-mm.
we don't want to spend less time with our children because they annoy us. That's not the goal, right? If you leave the
No.
room every time Gunnar is around, so that's not serving you. We can agree.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How do you want to feel?
Compassionate.
Okay. Okay. How would a mother in your situation think? When she's compassionate, what is that woman thinking? The good, let's pretend for right now that we're in your head, the good
Okay.
version of you, the person you want to be. What is that person thinking when Gunnar comes into a room?
I'm taking really good care of him.
That's excellent. Close your eyes. You're taking very good care of Gunnar. How does that feel in your body?
Less nauseated.
Okay. Anything else?
I mean, it feels a lot better.
So it subsides the nausea.
Yeah.
Okay. So then what I would suggest is that you have that thought whenever Gunnar enters a room. If you think the negative thought, decide, see the thought, because it's going to happen. I can't do anything about the thought coming up in your brain, sad to say. But that's just part of the human experience. We're not going to be happy all the time. I can't guarantee that. But if you notice the thought, if you hear yourself say to yourself, what is it? He's going to need me forever.
Mm-hmm.
Then notice it and then say, I'm taking very good care of him. Now, when you think that sentence, what's the emotion that you feel?
Proud.
There we go. And how do you think that you could act differently?
Well, I probably wouldn't leave.
Great. I like the word, my personal favorite these days is curious, because I think when we're curious, we will problem solve a lot better than when we are trying to make ourselves do things better. And so if you can find a way to be compassionately curious to sort of problem solve this answer, that's like step number 6. We're only at step 3 at the time, but you're one of my advanced students. So
Thanks.
this is what you look like in 3 months. Yay!
Look forward to it, everyone.
Jessie has breakthroughs all the time. Don't let her talk you out of that. You know you do. Anyone, I would love to hear someone's thoughts that hasn't spoken. Dad, Tia, Lena Kate, Ben, anybody have a thought that they would like to share that we could talk about? Because we have 10 minutes left. We might as well play a little bit. Any one of the 4 of you? All right, Lane, will you unmute yourself? Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
One, just to pick up on current events again, one thought that's been coming to me a lot that I do self-shaming on is that I'm not politically active enough.
Okay.
and that, you know, you see a lot of things in the world that probably could benefit from, you know, being more people being more politically active. But I just feel this sense of like, kind of, I have no idea where to even begin, and then I just sort of feel bad, and I feel like I'm not being a good, you know, member of society.
Yeah. I want everyone, I know everyone on this call knows this, but I just want to point out that the statement, "I'm not politically active enough," came from a lawyer.
Well,
And so the point is, your thoughts are not objective. I think we can all look at that thought. That would be like me saying I'm not a good nurse. You know what I'm saying? Like, I work at Johns Hopkins Hospital. So you could look at this thing all manner of different ways. I just wanted to point that out. That you believe you're not politically active enough sometimes is, it's shocking to other people. So first, let me say that. And then secondly, how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel guilty.
Okay.
Feeling.
And then how do you act?
Well, I mean, sometimes it does inspire good things. It inspires me to take steps.
Mm-hmm. Because you're shaming yourself, right?
Right. So, but it is I just feel just like not good enough as a person.
Mm-hmm. What are you doing?
What am I doing? What do you mean?
To be politically active, besides being a lawyer, what are you doing?
Well, I don't think being a lawyer is definitely not being politically active.
I know you don't. I know. I believe that it does.
and where I work, also, especially right now, where I work, we defend police officers, so it's, you know, especially tough.
Well, you're definitely taking a side, whether or not you like the side that you're on. You definitely are
but anyway,
politically active by working with the police.
So wait, I'm sorry, what was the question?
What do you do to be politically active?
Well, no, I haven't actually done anything in a long time other than basically vote.
Okay, so then inspire is bullshit.
No, what?
It's not inspiring you if you're not doing anything, right?
Yeah, I guess, I think I'm mixing up two different things. So yes, it has not brought me to take any action.
Right. So how do you want to feel? Do you want to feel inspired?
Yeah, and I'd like to feel competent, like able to do it too.
Okay.
So I'd like to feel like I want to do something and I know what to do, and I feel like confident that I can do it well.
Do you have like a person that you look up to that does this really well?
Yeah. My friend Jake.
And what do you think he thinks when he goes out to be politically active?
I really don't know.
Take a guess.
I don't know.
How does What I Do Matters, how does that feel to you?
That feels good.
Do you feel a difference in your body? Before,
yeah.
After guilt, how do you feel now?
A little bit calmer.
Okay. So do me a favor and write this on your fridge and make it a password and put it on your background of your phone. And in a week, text me and tell me how you feel. Because I promise you, if you practice this thought, all you're doing is tricking your brain and you're making a new neural pathway.
What am I writing down?
What I Do Matters.
Oh, What I Do Matters. Okay.
That seemed to help. And if that doesn't help, if you get to a week and you've felt no change, then we'll find a new sentence. But
okay.
If you think that, I don't know, twice a day, 3 times a day, 5 times a day, whenever you notice that you hear yourself say, I'm not politically active enough, and you start shaming yourself, instead start to think, what I do matters. Just say it out loud. Just do it. And in a week, text me and let me know how that's going.
Okay.
Okay, great. We have 5 minutes left. Does anybody else want to go? Anybody want to turn with a thought?
Wait, I have a follow-up question to Lena Cates.
Okay, okay.
So we haven't talked a lot about what's actually happening.
With,
So we've talked a lot about thoughts and feelings, but not about actual like circumstances.
okay.
So if what's true is I haven't been politically active in a year.
Okay, well, first of all, I'm gonna stop you. There's no such thing as true or false. You're never gonna get a letter from the universe.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily what's true, it's just your thought.
And Bean, I'm picking on you because I share this one. So I'm projecting a little bit. But my question is, when you have a thought about something that feels like a fact,
Mhm.
it seems like a new thought isn't going to change that fact.
Well, you believe both. That's the good news, is that you believe you're politically active enough and that you're not. And you only have this negative thought when you're feeling stressed out or when you have a trigger. And so that's what you cling to. Because she felt better when the sentence was different, that tells me that she already believes it. And that belief is what's going to carry her to the next thought and to the next feeling and to the next action.
Is the goal to change the action though?
The goal is to change the thought.
Okay.
The goal is for you to live a more peaceful and happy existence.
So the goal isn't how do you become more politically active?
No, I'm not going
That's
to
not
tell
the
you what
question.
to do ever.
Okay.
No, I want you to be happy. Because it's not one of mom's goals to be more politically active. So she doesn't care about this. This is not a thing that everyone must be. You know what I mean? This is just a belief that Lena Kate has. And so in order to make her feel better or better in her mind, this is a goal that she wants to do. And in order to change your action, you have to change your thought. You have to. You're never going to say, I'm just not going to eat meat anymore, and then I'm going to be thin. That's never going to happen. It's just not going to. You're going to cheat, because when you deprive yourself of things, you binge. And the same is true in this regard. If you don't change your thought, nothing's going to happen. You're going to be like Savannah. You're just going to keep ruminating over the same thoughts and making the same mistakes and doing the same stupid shit. And then people are going to be mad at you all the time. Now, I don't really care what other people think about you. The bottom line is, if that's the answer to your question, is I want you to live a more peaceful and happy existence. And if your goal, which it happens to be Lena Kate's, and yours, is to be more politically active, then absolutely, we can change your thought to get there. But I'm never going to tell you what to do, because it's not about your actions. It's about your thoughts. Yes, Mother. We can't hear you.
That's where I get hung up.
I know.
The idea that I feel bad about something, the solution would be to do something about that. And I mean, in terms of if being politically active, becoming more politically active would make you feel better,
Right.
then do that. I mean, I'm getting hung up with the changing your behavior versus
I know.
changing your thought.
This is not a belief you're going to have overnight. But I'm going to go back to my pick system. I'm sorry, there is a what? Oh my God. I'm trying not to look ridiculous, but you think that if you worry enough that you will change your behavior. And that's not true. We talked about this, Mom, at your house. When you worry, you don't sleep. When you don't sleep, do you make good decisions? You and I both know that that's not true. You are a very poor problem solver when you are tired. And I'm not even talking about, I got him. I'm not even talking about your thoughts right now. Like, forget all of that. When you're tired, you're not as good of a nurse, period. And so if you could just change your thought to sleep better, just that alone is going to improve your production value by at least 30%, I would say. Now we're talking about magic math now. 30%. That's just a number I came up with. That if you sleep, you get 30% more. But the point is, you would do better, we can all agree, if you had had good night's sleep.
Mhm.
That much we can agree on. So let's just start there.
So there is a component of behavior change. It's just that the path is through thoughts and feelings.
Yes. Lena Kate, she's raising her hand again.
Yeah, I just thought of maybe a good thing for my example of like
Okay.
of marrying these two ideas of
Hold on, let
somebody
me
needs to mute themselves.
Oh,
Okay.
it's Tia.
Say hi, Nico. Hi. I got too much energy.
But I
Tia
am,
wants to show us her grandchild. Everybody wave. Hi, T. Sorry, Lena Kate. Okay, go ahead. Sorry about that.
That's okay. That rather than say, I'm not good enough, I'm not politically active enough, I could say, I could change it to a more calming thought that could still inspire change. And
Absolutely.
that's actually going to be better. Like I could think, isn't it great that I want to be politically active? I have I have the right motivation. I have the right thoughts. And I'm just missing one little piece. But how great that I've got these first steps to becoming politically active.
Does that inspire you?
Yeah, and that seems like
Then that's it.
then that's a way of seeing this as not getting rid of the idea of improving oneself, but you just have to be at peace with who you are, but still find ways to spur change, but recognize that you're not going to change tons of things about yourself, that you're basically how you are, but you can still have little pieces of improvement. But that's probably going to happen better if you nurture yourself into those places and not shame yourself into them.
Correct. That's the whole point of the hour. Very smart. My star pupil. Unless anybody has anything else, it's 6:03 and I told everybody an hour, so I'm going to end it. But for my first Change Your Thoughts Zoom workshop, I'd say everybody gets a round of applause. You did a wonderful, wonderful job. It was wonderful to see those of you that I did see. And tell your friends, because I want to do this all the time. And maybe we'll do another one. Let me know if you liked it. Reach out. I love you all. Mwah. Goodbye.
thank you. It was wonderful.
Thank you for coming.
I'll do another one.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Lynn.
Hi.
Hi.
Here.
I love your picture in the back of, Ruth Bader.
Yep, trying to keep her alive.
There you go. So are we at Hopkins.
Right?
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yes, you really
All
are.
right. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.